Welcome to Scrappin with Sheri and page 93 in the sketchbook. Now, if you were with me on the last video, I said I very rarely do any pages straight on plain paper on cardstock. I usually use a printed paper. Well, guess what? Today I am breaking that rule because this sketch covers up so much of the background paper anyway, and I decided that the black cardstock was going to be perfect behind this. Now, I've already laid out my pictures. I did develop them on my home printer on my Epson. This is still using some matte paper that I'm not wild about, but I'm using it. This is a trip that my daughter-in-law and her best friend took to Disney World right around the time that Hurricane Helene was coming through. So we were in New York State. My daughter and her husband were in New York City, and this daughter-in-law was in Florida. So it was interesting trying to keep up with all of our people that particular week. But I did my journaling. I did it on a journal mat. And I had some extra space, so I cut this off of another mat and stuck in the middle of that. This also is a mat that I cut down and matted. But I've got everything ready to go except for this nice border at the top. Now, we're going to be using our wavy trimmer. I think it's called the decorative trimmer. I call it the wavy trimmer because it makes waves. But I am going to be doing this as a 2-page spread. So in order to do that, I'm looking at these measurements here. I feel like I'm going to be pretty close on the measurements because of the size of my pictures. But I am going to work on these measurements and put them down, and then we'll see where we are as far as the pictures. Now, because of the nature of the pages, I pulled out a couple of papers I had left from the Adventure Parks collection. I am thinking I will probably just use the dotted and the striped, and those colors are not actually perfect with the pictures, but it is Disney World, it is an adventure park kind of thing, and so I wanted to use it in that way. Now, I want a lot of the stripe to show because that's my favorite. And when I'm looking at that, we've got a big area here that's the stripe, and it really doesn't tell us how large that area is. So I'm going to do stripe on the top, stripe here with the red through the middle. So the part on the top is a 1 inch. And to do that, I'm just going to put this in my trimmer. I'm doing this very wavy, not the soft wave. And I'm going to move it to my 1 inch mark on my trimmer. Now, I know I've mentioned this before and some of you ask, but my trimmer was just the plain white one, and it was hard to see the grids for me. So I went back with paint, acrylic paint, put navy paint all over it, let it dry just a hair, and then wiped it off with a baby wipe. And that makes my marking so much easier to see. So I'm much more pleased with this trimmer now than I used to be. Now that gives me 1 inch. And to make the opposite, all I have to do is cut that piece off at 1 inch. So I'm sliding the wave to my 1 inch mark on this side. And I'm just going to slice that. So that gives me the 2 1 inch ones at the top. I know that we're going to need more wave here. And there are a couple of ways you could do this middle piece. You could do just a border, or you could do the border and then mat that border. I'm going to do it as just a border and let the black background show through. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to slide this down some. Don't really know how much I'm going to need here, but I'm going to make this wave. And then that's going to give me the wave for both pieces. I'm just going to have to cut them down for this sizing in just a minute. So I'm going to lay that aside because we need to make our middle wave. Now I'm going to do that with this red dotted. And it shows that that's a 1 inch, but it's wavy on both sides. So I'm going to cut that just to get that cut off. Then I'm going to slide the tops of those waves to my 1 inch. And that looks a little thin. I'm going to go just a little bit more, about a 1.5. Just seems too thin to me. Now, I'll tell you, I'm already thinking I'm probably going to end up with the waves not matching up exactly when I start putting this on my page. So that's in my mind already that it may or may not work, but we're going to give it a shot. That's the hardest part to me about layering these decorative waves. All right, so we've got this at the top. We're going back in with a red. That's pretty close. I bet I put one at the top when I cut and one at the bottom when I cut. This one's not even close at all. I bet I can figure out a way to fix it though. And then let's see how we are on the bottom. Probably right back to square zero. No. All right. I think I might be able to make this work. What do you think? Do you have faith in me? Let's see what happens. I'm just going to scoot this over. I'm keeping my photos laid out like I had them. And I think I'm going to go ahead and go with the length I've got here. The little bit will show behind some of the pictures, but I think that's okay. So let me just go ahead and start at this top edge. I knew matching up these waves was going to be a problem. Okay, we got that one. And then I'm going to go ahead and slide this in where it matches the best. Boy, you're going to get to see embellishment at its finest today. And I'm just leaving a little bit of that black there to show because it just distinguishes between the two patterns here. It's really pretty. It's a nice look. And I'm sure some of you who use the decorative trimmer more are already thinking, oh, you should have done this, this, this. You can share your hints in the comments. I can't tell you that I will try it again, but you can share your hints in the comments for everybody else to read and find an easier way to do this. That is so very cute. Let me pull my 12-inch back across. I'm just going to line this up on my cutting line and slice off that excess. And then see if we can piece it right back on. Oh, that would have been too easy, wouldn't it? Man. That's not too bad. See how the little red pieces go. You know what? I'm going to have to do something else there because that will drive me crazy. And I think I know what I'm going to do. All right. Let me slide this back across. I do like the height of that. I like a lot of things about this right now. If you'll notice, I'm purposefully trying to pull my pictures inside this area right here because I think I'm going to cut it off and cut off the bottom and add an extra color behind that. There's always a different way to do it. All right, let's go ahead and get this one on and see where we end up with it. And again, if you're really good at figuring out those angles and stuff, you go right ahead and do it and tell us how you did it. Not really angles, the curves and the waves and all that. I know that a lot of you are so much better at these things than I am. I just have a lot of fun. I'm going to leave my open space again in the middle of the 2-page spread, let me say. see where we're meeting up right here. This is going to be opposite, so it's going to look a little bit different, but I think when it's all put together, it's going to be fine. And we're going there with that. Oh, I do need to cut off some height here because this is way too tall. You saw me fingernail score another day. Got that. I'm just going to pull that in, cut it with my 12-inch trimmer. Let's see how that makes it. It's still really too long right there. I think it measured up pretty well, but visually it's just not exactly right. Visually, that looks so much better. Good thing I didn't promise this would be an easy one, huh? So let's add that one over here on the outside edge. I'm trying to keep my spacing between the patterns about the same side to side. Let me scoot these over. And I'm going to cut the excess here. I'm not even going to try to piece those back on. But then let's look at our spacing here. We've got, looks like about 1/2 inch extra there. If I cut that off and then cut 1/2 inch off the bottom, then I can put that page back together again. Now remember, this is now not a full 12 by 12. It's an 11.5 by 11.5. And I'm probably going to pull this up here. All right. Now I want to go ahead and stick my pictures on this side before I start moving it around too much and lose out on what I'm trying to do. Now what I'm doing is I am just getting my border around the bottom of my pictures and the sides the same. I'm going to do the same over here, but I'm going to line it up with my 0 centering ruler. I know you're shocked that I'm measuring. Not really measuring, just using it for a line. Let's see if I can get that lined up well across the bottom there. Doesn't feel exactly right. Nope. I think this picture dumps down some. We'll try it along the top edge. You know, sometimes I just do better eyeballing it. All right, so we've got those two on. We're gonna go ahead and slide this in the middle. Anytime I'm trying to line up pictures, I do like to work from my outside edges towards the center. And I didn't get pictures of my daughter-in-law and her friend. They took a lot of scenery pictures, and you know, they were really great. So I really pared it down a whole lot just to do a 1-page in our family album. But I love it with my daughter-in-law eating this Halloween cookie, and she has her ears on. So that one is down. Let's see if we can make this one about the same. And again, I'm going to move my pictures back to this side. We're going to cut a 1/2 inch off of this side. And then across the bottom as well. And then we're going to go back and add our pictures on. I have several friends who are cropping with me that absolutely love Disney World, and I'm sure if I told them, hey, I need to do some Disney pages, they would send me a bazillion pictures of Disney World. Our family has gone a few times, we enjoyed it every time we went, but we usually didn't go but for a couple of days at a time. We've never been for a week-long adventure. And my husband is just not the kind of person who likes to wait in line. So the last time we went, I had a good feeling that was going to be the last time we went. He said, all we do is hurry up so we can get in a line and wait again. But I know for a lot of people, this is so much fun. We're also getting of an age and of a stage in life, I guess, where we don't do the rides. So it makes it a little less fun when you're not doing all that stuff. I'm not sure if I want to go up or down with that, so I'm going to hang on to that a minute. Because I also had this border. I didn't own this, but a friend of mine had it and brought it for me to borrow. And when I look back at our sketch, they've done the wavy here with a border through it, which I'm not going to do. But then they've got another border down here, and I felt like this one would be perfect for that. So I'm going to get out the repositionable adhesive, the silicone mat. And I'm not going to tape every little part and piece on this because it's going to be page protected really soon. And I'm going to set this just right below that last swell. I like it because it gives me a little bit of extra black on there. And I'm just using my silicone mat here. I don't have my 13-inch mat at this workstation. So I'm just going to use the silicone mat to help me line this up side to side and top to bottom. Okay. That looks pretty uniform. Hard to line that stuff up when you got all these waves and stripes going on. And I'm still thinking I'm going up with that, but I'm just not sure yet. So let's do our little carnival ride border on the opposite side. I really had asked my friend if I could borrow this to make a few borders because on our last trip we saw a little, it was like a little small town fair, I guess you would call it. And they had some cute little carnival rides, and I thought this border would be cute for that. But then when she brought it and I saw the castles, I thought, oh, that's Disney World. So I made a couple of extras to use for this layout as well. Well, look at that. I just taped them right together. I was trying to use my opposite page to give me spacing, because when I put these down, I do want them to be pretty close in the size, in the height. Go this way and measure. Yeah, it's pretty good. And I am going to go back and put this in. So I'm covering up part of that design. That's okay. On this side, I'm going to stay low. Still not going to tape that yet, though. I still got some thoughts running through my head. Let me cut off this extra. Now, what do we do about the fact that we cut this down to 11.5? There are a couple of things we can do. We can just stick it straight on a scrapbook page and not worry about it at all. Or we can go back and add some extra color around that outside edge. And I think that's what I want to do. Now, just to give you a glimpse into the thought process, my first thought was, let's pick up this red and just make a thin border around the outside edge. But look how we just lose the look of this when we do that. It's way, way, way too busy. We could do something like that, but there again, it's very busy. So I opted to go probably the safest route. Now, this paper is one from, I think it was a specialty paper buffet we had. It's called Chili Pepper. But look how pretty it looks with this. And just by adding that behind there, look how beautiful this turned out. Now I'm going to gut this on my own time and then stick this down. But I want to go ahead and finish up the embellishment so you can see what this looks like, because I've already done the journaling. And here again, I just pulled embellishments I had left over, strictly because I had done a teaching about this particular collection at one of my crops, and I ended up with some leftovers. Now, I had this Instant Magic. I think that's adorable, but I'm not sure there's a really good place to put it on here unless we went that low. The problem is that's a see-through kind of thing, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to work with it. I could do this parade right there because that's part of the parade. Not loving the Instant Magic. I think that's going away. When I'm looking for embellishments for pages, I just kind of pull out anything I think might work. I do want that Never Going Home with her suitcases because she did have a really good time. I think this castle is going to be way too large unless I do something like that. And I could do this and take off the parade. What do you think? I think I like that best of all. So that's the way we're going. Now I'm going to go ahead and stick this journaling box down now that I know where it's going to end up. I do like the fact that this is more uniform with what I've got going on across the page. So that's there. I'm going to stick the castle just with tape. No foam squares on it. And keep it right down here. I'm going to even the bottoms of the castle up with those photos. And then we'll do a couple of foam squares on the banner. Because it is an embellishment, I don't necessarily need one in the middle. I could do this in so many different places. I kind of feel like it needs to be right down here. Love the way this color blends in with these colors. I think that's pretty. And then over here, we've got everything stuck except this Never Going Home. And I just put one foam square in the middle of that because there again, it's an embellishment. It's not going to lay down in the center. But we have another 2-page spread done. And that's what I love, is getting these pages done, getting these sketches done. We were pretty true to the sketch for a change. And I like the look of it. So that's page 93 in your sketchbook, done with the Adventure Park collection. And until I see you next time, happy scrapping.